Good evening and welcome to another MTV Community Forum. I'm your host, Byron Campbell, and of course our co-host, Chris Diali. Chris, good evening.
Good evening, Byron, and good evening to our viewers and listeners on Community Forum. It's a pleasure to be here again.
Chris, we have an interesting session this evening, of course. We have as our special guest, we have Dexter Mitchell. Of course, he's a former manager of the Grenada Carnival Committee and CEO of the Cultural Foundation. Other as an organizer or as an event planner and executioner. We have him after a break, so we look forward to that. Interesting. But Chris, of course, Carnival, we're going to have a lot of time to talk about Carnival, but there's one aspect of it I want to touch on, Chris, and that is the jab. You know, I know, Dexter, we can talk about that, but the only part I want to pick up here, Chris, is a question about the used engine oil that is used. I mean, look, this is one of our most important expression of our culture and of our history. So I want to lay that on. It's very crucial, it's very important. It's who we are. And it's 100,000 of us, population. So let's get that right. But the question is, as we masquerade, what do we apply on our skin? And we apply mainly used engine oil, Chris. And you're an engineer, Chris. Chemical engineer?
Mm-hmm.
So, well, maybe I should not talk because you understand this more than me and anybody else. So here's the thing, but this is what I learned, and you can verify this, Chris, that the oil contains petroleum-based chemicals. It contains heavy metals like lead, like cadmium, like chromium, and there's something that called some type of hydrocarbon, and these are known carcinogens and can cause skin cancer and other health issues. So why are we promoting using engine oil where we have alternatives to play our mass? So as a chemical engineer, let me interview on that. Clarify what I've said and what's the situation
It is
here?
correct to say that used oil from engines, whether it's vehicle or trucks, and I think trucks is even more severe in terms of the contaminants, as you listed, the lead, the heavy metals, particularly lead, and the issue of the hydrocarbons and the petroleum distillates is still not something that is welcomed or is recommended that you use and put on your skin for prolonged periods. Now, players of the jab will argue that they grease themselves with Vaseline, and that would probably create a barrier for the absorption of that into the skin. But jab players know that after they finish and they wash off, it's taking them a couple of weeks or weeks, the dirty clothes still, because when you sweat, the pores oozing out the black.
Right.
So it does get into the body. So we, over the years, this issue came up when in my former job as a paint manufacturer, and we recommended that they should stop using engine oil and use normal black paint outside of the engine oil. But the problem the jab organizers will tell you is that the players want the smell. So the engine oil brings a particular smell to the thing. And we can't duplicate that.
You can't infuse that smell into the...
I mean, at ACGL in Systems, we make body paint in various colors, including black.
Okay,
and,
so it's available?
Yeah, it's available, and it's water-based. You don't have to scrub as go in the beach and scrub with the oil and that. So it is easier to apply and to take off. But again, we can't mimic the smell. So a lot of guys don't go for it. But I noticed this year that they did say that you could play jab with engine oil or without engine oil. So you have an option now to choose.
Charcoal also.
Yeah, well, charcoal mix with whatever the liquid base is. So,
but there is a water-based color skin paint that's available. So we need to promote this more, particularly for children and whoever, and to say there is an alternative and what you recommended because of the health risk here that we don't know
Systems
about.
and ACGL introduced that many years ago. I mean, we had blue, we have red, we have pink, we had various colors. People could play in.
So we need to know that this is a dangerous product that we play with.
Yeah, it is. It can be dangerous because the skin, the biggest organ in your body is your skin.
Is your skin.
So the absorption will be significant.
And it's porous whether you
all from your head come right down to your face.
And it's porous whether you apply
the Vaseline or
not.
You know, because you're playing in that for hours.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, and you're sweating.
And some play over a number of days also. So just to note that, I mean, this is for public interest, that we need to be careful with the oil, engine oil, used engine oil. Chris, I learned like last week, there's a global discussion that's sponsored by the UN, is Geneva, and this is they're trying to get an agreement on plastic, an agreement to reach to end plastic pollution essentially. But it started in 2020, in 22, now it's 25, and they have not reached an agreement. And this is very unfortunate because we know that plastic, when it deteriorates, you get microplastics. It's in our body, it's in our food, it's in the rivers, it's in the sea, it's everywhere, it's in the fish we consume, and it's dangerous. We don't know the full potential. So, but the fossil fuel interest is promoting, let's manage the pollution, but we need to continue the production of plastic. And the reason why, of course, chemical engineer again, you're aware that plastic is a byproduct of petroleum, of gasoline, of oil. So no interest was reached, and that's very unfortunate. Here in Grenada, we've taken some action. We have banned single use of plastic to an extent in the major shops, but we need to go further than that. You go in the sea, you go in the river, you go everywhere, and there's plastic everywhere. It's everything we consume is made of plastic. So we do have a problem globally, and it's very unfortunate that this conference was unable to reach a conclusion.
Well, you see, Byron, part of the issue is the cost.
Yeah.
Compare the cost of a plastic bottle, as we have here,
yeah.
and the use of water is now a big thing in bottled water, so
Yeah.
plastics have doubled in
Yes.
terms of use and,
Yes.
and convenience
Yeah.
of having
Yeah.
this versus
Yeah.
having your liquid in something else like a cup, a paper cup,
Yeah.
or one of those things which is biodegradable.
Yeah.
And the inconvenience of carrying it around. And the issue with the manufacturing of bottles is a chemical process that at the end of the chain, you get
Yeah.
this plastic bottle and
Yeah.
it cannot biodegrade.
Yeah.
That is why the most you could do, you may have interventions where it disintegrates, but the plastic doesn't go. It stays. So the most important thing for the plastics and the management is recycling.
Yeah.
So if you recycle, but you recycle to make more plastic.
It's like 6% is recycled, so the majority of plastics is not recycled
That's
at all.
right.
So let's see what
End
happens
up in the oceans.
Exactly.
And
Let's see
all
what
about,
happens in next
yeah.
year. Chris, the big issue with us in Grenada here now, it's current, it's been around. The American government has accused Cuba of human trafficking in the operation of their medical missions. That's very important, yeah? And as a result of that, they have issued some targeted sanctions against officials, and in Grenada also. So what's happening? The State Department is targeting officials that are facilitating the missions, and that's, as I said, includes Grenada. But it's interesting to know that this program, the health program, supports and sustains health systems of countries around the world, certainly in Africa, in the Caribbean, in the Americas. And yes, one of the things we know, apparently it provides some critical exchange earnings for the Cuban states. The specific accusations by the U.S., the allegations against Cuba, is that it's forced labor. They say that 75 to 95% of their salaries of the medical professionals that are here are seized by the state, by the Cuban state, making those workers here, in fact, indentured servants. That's how the U.S. call them, And the U.S. also state that Cuba earns between $6 to $8 billion a year from this program. They also accuse Cuba of confiscation of passports and restrictions on communication by these individuals. Cuba, however, has categorically denied these allegations. They say it's an attempt to undermine the International Medical Corporation, the whole program, and its reputation. And this is important. But given that, Chris, a number of countries have looked at that. Jamaica, for example, earlier this year, carried out an investigation into the program and determined that there was nothing in the program that constituted human trafficking. The only thing they said in the official report, was that they needed to streamline the administrative aspect of it. Otherwise, it was fine. They had no issue with it at all, We've heard from St. Vincent. We've heard from other countries, Brazil. We've heard from Mexico, that this program in no way represents human trafficking. The situation, as many have said, that the real issue of course, behind that is a 60-year-old embargo on the Cuban states and its impact on the Cuban people. It's hard to look at the impact of the Cuban economy, limited access to international markets, foreign investment, essential goods, leading to severe economic hardship to the people. The cost to the island annually is in the billions. It's a huge, huge thing. What we know is this embargo has essentially failed. It hasn't resulted in the changing of the regime. But it's the embargo that is the real issue here, because this embargo for over 60 years. And I want to note here that annually there is a vote at the United Nations. And let's look at the last vote. The United Nations says that it is illegal, it violates the UN Charter, and international law is exploitative in that it restricts Cuba access to international markets and is harmful, causing significant economic losses and affecting the Cuban people access to food and medicine and essentials goods. But going back to the UN, out of the entire UN, Chris, 187 countries voted in favor that this embargo is illegal, it should be removed. Only 2 countries supported it. America, they are the ones that are doing it, and Israel. And you could understand that. 1 country abstained, Ukraine, and you understand why they would abstain. So it's interesting. So the world is against them. And that, for me, Chris, is the issue here. You know, that's the issue. Because if we look at the double standard, in the United States now we have a whole flood of workers going to agricultural workers from Mexico and other Latin countries going there. Trump too, the first thing was to try to arrest them. But once the farmers complained, this scheme is allowed. The exploitation there, the living condition is poor, the underpayment, that may constitute human trafficking, because that's also included how it's organized and arranged. So I think that we should stand firm with our government and our administration on this, that from the other countries' explanation, we should have a bit more explanation on how the system works. The Cubans are, in fact, their passport confiscated, are they restricted in their communication? What is the actual situation? But clearly, though, the emphasis on this is not to, it's seeking regime change. The reason why they are not targeting Cuba further sanctions is because they have admitted, the U.S., they have admitted, the State Department, that the conditions in Cuba now is so bad, that they can no longer apply pressure on Cuba. They have to seek other persons, and this is why they have moved now to target officials from various countries who are involved in this program. So that's my take on this, Chris. That it's current. As Gonzalo have said, he's prepared to not be issued a visa to go to the United States.
Well, you know, Byron, after your long introduction, the end of the story is that the bully is at work.
Yeah.
The bully is the United States.
Huh?
The sanctions that have been imposed on Cuba for decades have not worked as they would like it to, because the Cubans are still finding ways to survive and carry out what they have to carry, albeit in a fashion where they're struggling economically and otherwise. Yeah. But let's look at the medical program in particular, and then the sanctions they want to impose on Grenadiers for visa and the government. Yeah. The Cubans have one of the most superior medical programs in the world.
Yes.
The Cubans have come up with cures for a number of diseases through their own medical research. Mm-hmm. They continue to make pharmaceuticals available to people in the world at a reduced cost that, you know, if you go to the US as a comparative, is ridiculous in terms of cost. Yeah. And you have doctors and institutions in the United States that have had relations with the Cuban medical community, and they will have nothing but good things to say about what they do and how they do it. So hearing Secretary of State Rubio come now and say to the world and to CARICOM and target 1 or 2 countries in the CARICOM, because we have benefited from the medical assistance given by the Cubans for decades. Yes. And we're not talking about just having the doctors come here. Remember, they train a lot of our doctors as well. And they have built our hospital here. Correct. And at the cost of the scholarship programs to train our doctors as far as I'm aware, they don't ask for any money back.
Yeah.
Right? It's a scholarship you get. You come
exactly.
here. Grenada will ask the doctors to do some service, national service, work in the hospital, whatever the case. But the point is, for us in these territories, these small states, we cannot do without that kind of assistance. The specialists that come to Grenada in the form of Cubans are badly needed for countries of our size and the cost of medical care. We struggle now in our health system to give the adequate medical care, whether it be in dialysis or whatever. And here we have a country as Cuba who is coming to our help in various forms through their own personnel and through technology transfer and so on. And you want to tell us in these countries that we should stop it because it's human trafficking and forced labor. I mean, come on. We have laws here, labor laws, in harmony with the ILO standards that says that we have to follow certain protocols, and which we do. And it applies to any worker coming to Grenada, whether it's Cuban or African or whatever the case may be. So I don't understand why Grenada was targeted in particular to make an example of us as it relates to probably preventing our foreign minister from getting a visa to travel to the US or not. And he's a diplomat. So sometimes you have to try to understand the legal connotations of what's going on. So, I mean, to me, it's just the bully in place, and the bully is going to do what he has to do to keep his voters. I mean, Marco Rubio is a fellow that wins as a Republican the Miami, Florida area because the Cuban community there is pretty
that's
strong.
A big part of it. He has always preached that element.
Correct.
You know.
Remember when the Democrats was in power with Barack Obama and Biden, they started making relief efforts in the embargo to Cuba. As soon as Trump came back in, they put back in everything and probably 10 times more. So it's really an internal political thing in the U.S. and their votes, but here you are trying to pressure countries through your bullying that this is
I stand firm. I think we should take a very regional approach, but I support the government on this
I think when you hear the words coming out of CARICOM, and most of the countries within the CARICOM region, at least the Anglo-speaking CARICOM countries, is that they're not going to go ahead with this thing, and they're going to stand firm on their position with Cuba. Because we have more to lose than to get.
Absolutely. Because if you withdraw these medical systems from major countries, our health system collapses. Chris, vehicular traffic accidents, Carnival, high, low. What did you make of it? What's the report?
The police report came out saying that between Carnival Friday night, or Friday, and ending on Tuesday night, there was 106 accidents, 4 of which were serious accidents. Serious meaning that probably people got injured.
This was more than last year?
Oh, this is far more than last year. The only thing that the police mentioned was housebreaking. There was some instances
that
of
went
housebreaking.
That went up. Housebreaking went up.
But not significant.
But crimes went down generally. So that's a good thing.
And the accidents, the vehicular accidents is the issue. And I mean, we could put that down to 2 things, really. There's a greater volume of vehicles on the road. And around Carnival time, we have a lot of visitors who rent vehicles.
And driving. That's correct.
And then we have a lot of fellas driving, speeding. Outside of the norm. And when you hear the police actions in terms of what they did over the season, I mean, compliments to them in what they did, and they seized a set of cutlass and guns and all kinds. So the police did a relatively good, but you can't stop a man from driving at a ridiculous speed and causing harm to everybody else.
Chris, related to that, you know, we had a death in the Northwest where a vehicle fell on a mechanic, killed him. You know, but this is again one of the roadside garages, and I know there's on Cherry Hill, there's on Grand Mall, this is just the Northwest. All over the island we have this. So very unfortunate incident. But how is, as we on transport, how is the change in vehicular traffic with the project in the south going? What's the impact of this?
I mean, I have to compliment the planners and the police who came together and mapped out what they need to do when the project, of course, the project is being done in phases, so not everything happening in one go. So you have one phase and they make traffic arrangements, alternative traffic arrangements. Have another phase, like for example, between Golf Course and the traffic light at Food Fair works at 7:30 in the night to 2 in the morning. So they're doing things differently, and I must compliment them. I have traveled Grand Anse since the project started, and the traffic is not as bad as you would have thought. You know, again, school opening in 2 weeks. We're going to see when increased volume of traffic come on, how it's going to deal with the backup in traffic. And
Chris, the final thing before we move to the next segment is that crime and punishment. We understand that from some of the attorneys and other persons that part of the problem that a lot of our convicts, people that are convicted for various crimes, have mental issues. And our prison system doesn't have the facilities or the structures to accommodate that. And so what may be happening is we can see an escalation. In other words, we're not solving the real issues that are contributing to the crimes. What are you gathering?
Well, you know, the last assizes and high court matters, over 60%, I think it's 66% were sexual related offenses.
Yeah. And a lot against minors.
And a lot against minors.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, you know we have a problem in the society with how men interact with women and young ones, minors in particular. Most of the psychologists and so on will tell you it's a mental health issue that we see, and it's playing out itself in that manner. And when persons are incarcerated based on the violence of the crime or the nature of the sexual abuse, they're going to general population in the prison. There's no separation. And you could have rehabilitation programs for prisoners, which the prison has one and have a good record. But if you don't rehabilitate the mind as well, especially those that have mental issues and teetering on mental issues, there isn't much gain. So I think there is a cry now for the separation of these mental health. These persons who will come into the prison system.
And then when you add the overcrowding.
Exactly. It doesn't help, because it is alleged a lot of rape takes place in the prison system based on the overcrowding and where men have to sleep with each other and so on.
In fact, the overcrowding came out in Grenada's Human Rights Report, because the prisons were designed for 150 and it's close to 400. Close to that.
Probably 500.
So we have a major overcrowding issue there.
So, I mean, and you know, we have a problem in the justice system with the prison and incarceration. We need a new prison. There's no doubt about that. The government probably have more priorities. They want to have a new court, a justice built. They have to, but the prison is, to me, an immediate thing with people getting affected every day. And then some of them are coming back into society, not rehabilitated mentally or otherwise. That could cause even more harm. So I think it's something that we need to keep on the radar a little more. Probably build a wing to separate those that we have diagnosed as mental issues. And treat them differently and rehabilitate them differently. So it's something.
And have the medical practitioners to be able to, else when they come back out,
because
it's the society that gets affected.
Generally, mental health issues in Grenada is not something that we pay attention to as we should. And we have hangings happening in younger and younger people. And then again, it's the men. I mean, 90% of these incarcerated,
more than 90%,
is men. And young men, sometimes under the age of 25, the majority.
And it's recurring. Those that they come out and they go back.
So we have a problem. And Dr. Dabrio, one of the major psychiatrists who have written on this, psychologist, says that we do have a problem and must be discussed, and we must find ways to deal with it, in a more structured and strategic way. And I do support that.
Great, Chris. That's all the time we have.
They want to talk about the heat wave.
Yeah. The heat wave, Chris. It's been, NAGMA issued warnings because this has been averaging over 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yes.
That's hot, and so we have to make sure we hydrated. And that's also, remember, in the peak of the hurricane season, that's what generating a lot of the energy for these hurricanes. So it's a time for us to be careful.
I'll only add that it's not just hydrating, it's drinking plain water.
Yeah.
If you could put a little lime or a little lemon in your water, the body retains it better than just plain water. Okay, just drink it and pass it back out.
That's good information.
So something to keep in mind when we want to hydrate ourselves in extreme heat conditions as we've seen in the recent few days.
Okay. Coconut water is good?
Yes.
Okay.
For that, good things in coconut
Viewers,
water.
stay with us. We'll be back with our special guest, talking about doing an assessment evaluation of the carnival, Dexter Mitchell. So stay with us, we'll be right back.
Laboratories, providing quality care and expertise. Fit for life and allied laboratories. See our in-house doctors and our pharmacies. Get expert care and quality tests. When it comes to your health, you deserve the best. Fit for life and allied laboratories. We're taking care of Grenada.
Welcome to the future of shopping with Real Value IGA mobile app. Now, your favorite supermarket is right in your pocket. Whether you're a student, a busy parent, or in the diaspora shopping for friends and family at home, a Yachty, or a Grenadian, our mobile app has you covered. Shop online with our mobile app from anywhere and enjoy free delivery to St. George and St. David. Or you can pick up your groceries in-store, hassle-free. Convenience, savings, and a seamless experience in Grenada. All right here at your fingertips. Download the Real Value IGA mobile app and start shopping today. Real Value IGA, bringing the supermarket to you.
Welcome back, viewers. As indicated earlier, we have Mr. Dexter Mitchell with us this evening to give us an evaluation of Spice Mass 2025 and what has happened. As you know, Dexter is very versed and very experienced in Carnival. He has been an event planner, he has been past CEO, cultural foundations, and so on. So he's well positioned, we believe, to give us his analysis of what he thought happened for 2025 and how it compared to 2024. So, Dexter, welcome to the program.
Pleasant good evening to your viewers and listeners, and thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for the invitation.
My initial assessment of Carnival 2025, and I must say openly that I have not been, I was out of the mix. I normally would stay and do panorama and certain shows and so on, semi-final, but this year I didn't do any. But from all the reports you're hearing, Carnival 2025, Spice Mass 2025, seem to have been a much better executed in terms of shows, the quality has been better, and so on. So generally you're hearing people saying that it was a better event than 2024. What is your assessment?
There was a wonderful climax. If you recognize, this year was a much shorter season. Outside of the semi-finals, which took place, I think, the third week of July, the major fetes, Warsways and Crave, which is Boys' Fete, those fetes actually did not take place in June. They took place starting on the 31st of July. So you essentially had just about 1.5 weeks of Carnival. So you had 4 fetes that weekend. Then Monday, Tuesday, you went into pre-day on Wednesday, and it was just a series of private events, and then Juve and into Carnival Monday and Tuesday. So I think for those who could sustain it physically and financially, it was a wonderful season because it was only a week and a half. And it was like the old days when we came from Rainbow City almost straight into Carnival. You just paced for a week and a half. So in that sense, it was a wonderful climax. But in terms of the organization of the national events, I don't think that we improved over 2024. We still had late starts, late finishes. Soca Monarch did not finish until 6 in the morning. You cannot advertise a show to start at 8 and it finishes at 6. I think we've gone past that. We've discussed that over and over. The people who went to the Queen show said it was probably one of the worst organized Queen shows in recent history. It finished at 3 o'clock in the morning. And Panorama also had its challenges. So some things were not in place. So for example, for the main stage, for Panorama and Soca Monarch and so on, there was one ramp. So the bands had to go up on one ramp and come down on that same ramp, and then the next band had to wait until that process was complete.
It's not one up and down the next side.
Exactly. So that was a half an hour process. It was the same thing for Soca Monarch. I looked at it from home, and you had to wait, between 10 to 15 minutes for artists to come on stage, hence the length of the show. But like I said, if you were so inclined financially and physically, the climax was wonderful. There were a series of private events that has now been added to the calendar, and by foreign interests, not necessarily Grenadian promoters. And I think that lent itself to enhancing the carnival season. Those premium all-inclusive fetes start at 4 in the afternoon, finish at 11 in the night, which is kind of foreign to us and how we party, but it more catered to the foreign interest, the people who are here for Spice Mass.
But just to stick a point, I mean, even though you start at 4 and you finish at 11, that's a good thing. That's not necessarily a bad
that's
thing.
a good thing.
You get your money's worth, but you still have time to get home in a decent time.
Exactly.
One of the things that I observed as well is the mix of events we had in this carnival, apart from the fetes, but you had a lot of cruises going on, private cruises, and these seem to have been well attended. It wasn't cheap either, but well attended, so I understand the financial impact that you're talking about. So from that point of view, it would appear that the people who came to Carnival for 2025 had, as you say, they were financially available to them. They had a ball.
No, they had a wonderful time. But one of the challenges and why we have so many cruises now is I think it's cheaper to do a cruise from a promoter standpoint than to do one of the land-based events. Before I came on, I was looking at the Act again, the Spice Mass Corporation Act. And a large portion of the Act deals with how the Spice Mass Corporation handles private promoters. And it's basically you have to wait until the season is announced or launched, and then you have to apply for events, which makes it very difficult that if you have to plan an event, you cannot wait until Carnival is launched in May to start planning your event.
And hence we're seeing a lot of warm-down fetes after Carnival.
Well, that initiated
because of the shortness of the season. So
exactly.
You had a big fete on the Wednesday that I heard was well attended and well executed, and more continuing because we have others being advertised into the end of August.
There are some events, but I must say from an entertainment standpoint that the industry has been challenged right now. If you notice, the first big major show in the National Stadium since last year was Soca Monarch. We have not had major entertainment events outside of cruises, and it has to do a lot with taxation, the restrictions.
But the venue was unavailable. So.
The venue was unavailable, but it comes at a cost too. So I mean, even if you use the Kriani James Athletic Stadium, you have to cover the tracks and so on. The cost of the foreign acts. Even if you do a local show, which I did for the 50th anniversary of independence, there's still a lot of taxation and a lot of boundaries put in place, and especially for the carnival season. So you find, I don't know, maybe it's easier for the foreign promoters to do it, but they were able to do it similarly to great success this year, and I think that enhanced the season also. Another thing is that I think this is 2025 will probably saw the most visitors come to Grenada for Carnival.
Even with the Trump 2.0 restrictions on people coming to the country.
But what it appears, though, is that a lot of the visitors, traditionally, we think come from the United States. But we had visitors from Belize and other countries. I was surprised. I met some of these people. So that's an interesting dimension, Chris.
Yeah,
so we are appealing to
on one thing though. When we have these events, the major events, and people come into them, a lot of the tickets are sold online.
Yes.
And if a local promoter was to do it, I know the government will come and charge them the VAT based on attendance. I wonder if that is being captured when you take it online, or do they do an estimate of what it is?
They probably just do a head count because if you purchase the ticket online, more than likely you'll just do a scan with your phone.
Right.
So I don't know how that is registered by the VAT office. So they probably just do a head count. And again, you have to verify now with the VAT office the paying patron versus somebody who gets a complimentary pass to the event. Yeah. So that I'm sure I already have something in that regard. But just to touch on Baron's point. A lot of the visitors were not necessarily. We had a lot of returning nationals.
Yes.
I ran into a lot of friends, but a lot of the visitors were not necessarily Grenadian returning nationals. A lot of came from the other islands. I mean, they came from North America to England, Canada, from the other islands, and it is I think a tribute to our music over the last few years that has generated that kind of interest in Grenada's Carnival and the jab movement. Speaking to some people. And I had several conversations during and after Carnival, and the attraction was jab. This whole energy and the way we party and wanting to see these people, the portrayal of jab. I mean, unfortunately, we don't have a proper portrayal of the jab, and we'll get to the issue of the oil and all of that. But we don't have a proper portrayal of jab. So there was a bit of disappointment. But that jab energy, the way we party and the music and the jab music and so on.
That would Tourism Authority, GTA, had a set of influencers here that came. And the general opinion of the influencers is that, we have I was told that they said we have the best carnival now in the region for a couple of reasons. We don't have the volume as Trinidad in terms of petit mas, but we have the greatest variety. We have the jab, which is something that they come because it's, as we sold it years ago, 100,000 jab. Then you have Monday night mass. Not very much of us in the islands have Monday night mass. We have the traditional mass still. That is still very functional in terms of Shotney and Veko and so on. Probably could be expanded. But there's a lot more to look at, see, and enjoy in our Grenada's context for Carnival compared to the other countries.
We have a lot more to offer, I do agree. I don't know, however, if we are putting all of that on showcase. And I think when I did a SWOT analysis, a very short SWOT analysis of this year's Carnival, and that is one of the opportunities I highlighted. The fact that we actually do have a national carnival. So it's not like Trinidad where you have to go to Port of Spain or St. Vincent, you have to go to Kingston to see what is happening. You can actually go around Grenada at any point leading up to and during Carnival.
The biggest Juve is Sotes.
It's in Sotes, exactly.
On Tuesday.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I experienced it. I was up there.
So we have to work a bit more on that, and the visitors who are coming in, get them out of St. George's. I mean, because the packages are so curated. As you say, they buy the tickets online, they book the hotels. A lot of them to book taxis. So once they get to Morris Bishop International, taxi take them to the hotel and then to the feds, the all-inclusive feds.
Right.
So we have to find a way to get them out of that bubble and experience a lot more of Grenada. Make them know that Grenada has a lot more to offer so they can return outside of the carnival season, but also ensure that we have them as returning customers for future carnivals. But we have to highlight the unique aspects of Grenada's carnival, including the fact that we're one of the safest destinations.
Correct. I was about to touch on that. Really safe and the security. The RGPF did an excellent job.
No, I think the police always do a wonderful job. Even in my time managing Carnival, I remember having a direct line to whoever the commissioner was at the time. And there would be this constant conversation, like I would almost want an hour by hour update, as soon as Juve is over, did we have any major incidents? What I found though is that Grenadians are so devoted to having a good time that we don't take on the fighting.
We worry about crime. It happens in all countries. Trinidad is the same thing.
Exactly.
They call fetting and we drop to the point.
To the extent that in Guelph you find that the guys will actually make citizens arrest.
Yeah. You heard some reports. You come in and disturb everything.
Exactly.
So keep yourself quiet.
A lot is invested, a lot is expended. So people don't want the master mashup.
Dexter, the chairman of Spice Mas, Kurt Ross, he said, and I think Chris referred to it, it's the best mass by far. I mean, that's the slogan, by far. But what I thought was interesting in his report is that he's promising next year, not this year, not this mass, he's outlined the areas that Spice Mas Corporation would note, and we'll get to that, to do an assessment evaluation of Spice Mas for 2026, granted resources available and so forth. But it's my view that this should have been done now. this should have been done, this assessment evaluation. And these are some of the points he raised, and I want to go into a few of it, that he raised, they're going to assess road experience and the flow. He's going to the preservation of traditional mass, safety and well-being measures, affordability and access for participants, digital integration and registration of ticketing, environmental sustainability. So critical areas. Yeah. But the question is, I had to ask, why wait until this? I don't see this as a complex situation if you assign persons to set up criteria.
They normally are post-mortem?
Post-mortem. But taking it from that way, but the question I want to ask you, one of it I want to go to, is the environmental sustainability question. I saw a video, which is taken by a drone, of, I would say, maybe 10,000 jab, I don't know. It was a lot because it was from Lagoon Road to Belmont. And along this road, there was no public toilets. A lot of people, Chris, a lot of people. When you looked at Grandance Beach the day after, the pictures, the dirt, the garbage, up to now, when you drive along the Carnage or Belmont, it's ugly, it's awful. You know, the stains from the oil and Queen's Park. So what is the environmental sustainability issue, though? You know, are we paying enough attention to that aspect, not just the entertainment aspect, but the facilities we need to? Some of the trucks, I understand, the bands may have had a toilet on a truck or something like that, but in the general sense, there was none or very few facilities available for the public here.
That is one of the areas I identified as a weakness for SpiceMass 2025. The ability of the SpiceMass Corporation to actually organize a festival. I think as it stands right now, they are still doing a series of events.
Yeah.
So you do the semi-final, you get out of that, and then you move on to the next event. So you do Soca Monarch, and then okay, after Soca Monarch, we have to get ready for Panorama.
Yeah.
As opposed to taking all these things into consideration.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we've gotten to the stage where we have to have, as it were, oiling up areas. So people who want to partake in the job, they go to specific areas. So we dispose of the oil, probably it's on concrete that can be washed down with sand or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there must be designated wash down areas. So at least you remove the heavy material, get the clothes off, and that is put into an incinerator and disposed of, or something like that, before you move on to the sea. The lack of toilet facilities, that has been discussed now for years. We cannot keep inviting thousands of people to St. George's on Carnival Monday and Tuesday in particular, and don't have any toilet facilities.
You have stations where you could go and...
Exactly. We don't have proper, as it were, food courts. So anybody can set up anything on the streets and say, oh, the small man has to make it. In the context of a festival, that cannot suffice. There is move now by all the governing bodies. So whether it is the ICC in cricket, World Athletics in track and field, FIFA in football, where there's this, that any component of a major event has to have sustainability, garbage disposal, and for those of us who remember, I know there was a running joke that we brought people here from Australia to teach us how to pick up garbage. I think it was Waste Management.
But even though I must compliment RJs, after each event like Juve and Inter Tuesday, the roads are clean.
Yeah.
And all the garbage is taken up and they give you a clean environment.
But there has to be an environmental component, and I think it comes with education. And I think that is something I noted also, that SpiceMass or Carnival does not belong to the SpiceMass Corporation. It belongs to Grenada, all its entities. So there has to be an educational component. The Ministry of Health has to be involved. Of course, the RGPF has to be involved. The Ministry of the Environment has to be involved. We now live in a world where abuse of animals is not tolerated.
Yeah, that was something else we saw. They had chickens, they had snakes. And unacceptable.
Not just having them, but dipping them in the oil.
Exactly. That's a no-no.
Abuse of animals. So we have to have an educational component. Something that is missing, and I grew up during the revolution, and that was one of the things I liked about the revolution in terms of education. was the public service announcements. So you had the billboards, and then you had all these announcements on the radio, eat what you grow, what you eat, and those things. I think we need to get back into that. And not just for June and July, but that should become
constant.
We talked about the water bottles.
Yeah.
If you exercise like I do and walk around the country, we go on a lot of long walks and so on. It is disheartening to see how we dispose of garbage right now. And I keep asking myself, when did we become like that?
We're nasty. I'll say that without apology. And it's not with our children, because our children, we have a song we sing, pick up this, pick up that, and put away. Whereas when we become adults, we just forget everything we know.
It's through the windows of passing.
I had my last hike to our peak here in Grenada, just before you get to the peak. What do you call it?
Kublai?
Not Kublai, man.
Mount St. Catherine?
Mount St. Catherine.
Okay.
You're meeting a layer of garbage. And it is an amazing thing to experience.
It's unacceptable.
And there's guys and people going up there with things to eat and drink and so on, and just throw it. They ain't coming back down with it.
I don't like to hear the word you saying we're nasty, but
what is the fact?
What I find funny.
You see what happens on Grand Anse Beach. We have bins, but we ain't using the bins. There's a mentality issue.
I do Grand Anse Beach on some Sunday mornings, and it is really disheartening.
Yes.
You see, it's like there's a party session, there's a lime on Saturday night, so you see all the bottles and the boxes of chicken.
I do it on Sunday too.
What is missing though is that, and we see groups do it, some service groups do it, and it's very commendable, where they go and they pick up the garbage and they have these drives, but nobody's talking about how did the garbage get there and what are we doing to prevent it.
Right.
So if you want to feel good about yourself, you can go down to the beach in the morning, pick up bottles, put it in a plastic bag, show it on social media. But we need that education. We need those public service announcements to say to our people, we cannot do that. This is not us.
So Dexter, I mean, looking at the whole picture, what's your key recommendations for, and as you said, Spice Mass is not Spice Mass Corporation on its Grenada. What are the key recommendations?
But before you go there, you know, Dexter, I have been involved in a couple.
Yeah.
We do postmortems after every carnival.
Yeah.
And we come up with the lovely issues that have occurred, and we come up with the solutions as well.
Yeah.
But to me, these reports never get actioned. Never get action. So we have these lovely postmortems that we do. We identify all the issues that you have identified here, for example. Why can't a show start on time? And we have been discussing that for years. Right. So my issue here is, what is the problem with us actioning the areas that we have highlighted as problematic? Part of your question.
I think it's personal. So up to last October, I was invited to another postmortem. It took an entire day at the Trade Center.
Yeah.
About 60 individuals showed up, different components. I thought it was very well done in terms of the information.
Right.
The document was supposed to be presented and recommendations, and none of the nothing came to fruition, to the extent that I don't think I want to attend another one.
Is it because we do have a secretariat running for the year?
No, there is an office. You know.
Well, right.
There's a full-time carnival
full-time
office.
carnival office.
Well, we have a full. Because years ago, there's complaint it stops after carnival ends.
That's
so now that we have it,
yeah.
Why aren't the recommendations taken on board and implemented?
I think the challenge is personal, in that you need qualified people to execute those specific tasks. So, for example, if there is a recommendation and that will come up, that we need to engage the traditional mass people, then somebody actually has to go out and do the physical work. So we cannot just wait until next year carnival and say, hey, how much mass bands you have come in and register? Somebody has to go to Guav, meet with Toya, find out what are the challenges, what can be done to expand the band, meet with Waterloo Shortney that is now, for all intents and purposes, extinct. Somebody has to go out and do the work, and I think that becomes a challenge. The police, for example, if we recognize that traffic is now becoming an issue, and I've had several conversations about that, do we now move the route from Tantin, start at Tantin and end in Montrouge, or do we go from Montrouge and end in Tantin? But again, those require work. Somebody actually has to go out. We have drones now, we don't have to use a helicopter anymore. So go out and map the area properly and have those conversations, work it and see if it makes sense, if it can work.
My question for the final recommendations was that pressured on time here from the technical persons. But before we go there, and that question still stays there, there was a major issue around the judging of the Mardi Gras, you know. Patrons were annoyed, upset. It was all over the internet, and this was a big issue, you know. What's your take on this? I mean, I don't have a comment on it, but what's your take on it? What's happening here? Why are we having this response?
I have not looked at the show as yet. I was otherwise engaged on that Sunday night, so I did not get a chance to look at it, and I have to make some time to sit down and look at the competition. So I cannot say whether.
Right. No, but what was?
But no, we have a problem. We have a judging problem.
Okay.
I know, for example, in 2024, there was probably 1 or 2 judges' workshop that was specific to only one small group of judges.
I know
I was told that
had
there
that.
were only 24 judges. Spice Mass could not afford food. They couldn't open up to the public because they couldn't feed everybody or something like that. And that's very dangerous. I think we need more than 24 judges in any one season. So that is a concern. And that process is in June. You cannot have two workshops in June to get ready for the season. I think the competition is
starts since in January of the year?
No, well, we've done, when I managed Carnival, we did workshops in September. The best workshops you will get is now.
Immediately after.
Everybody wants to come. The judges want to come and give their views. The Calypsonians want to hear what the judges have to say. The general public is interested. New people are interested in the process. So I think everything, not just the judges, everything, all the recommendations. I like the points that the chairman highlighted, but all of that has to start in September. And some deadlines have to be set. There are certain things that have to be achieved by Christmas. And then okay, after Christmas comes independence, and then you start implementing. But if we are going to put off things and shut everything down, we forget everything.
Well, one of the big issues too, I want to cover so much thing, has to do with affordability, you know, and access. Of course, if you're home, it's costly for you. You have to do it digitally. Not everybody could afford this. What about the cost? What about the affordability of these events? One of the major events that I attended was primarily overseas people, you know. So where are the local peoples? Affordability, is it affordability?
The private promoters will dictate, and they will adjust, the private sector will adjust their prices to suit. I find the Spice Mass Corporation events, I think they've gotten too costly. I think we can get more people in the events if they are a bit more affordable, especially when you go outside of St. George's. When you go to Grenville, for example, I don't see why the semi-final has to be, one semi-final has to be $50. I don't get the justification. Yes, I know things are, things are increasing, but again, market forces will dictate that if it is affordable, more people will attend. Your vendors.
But is it because, sorry to interrupt you, because in the years past, Carnival was telling you that there's only one show that does make money.
Suka Monarch. And that was capacity.
But Panorama, the semi-final doesn't do too bad, but Panorama, Queen Show, and the Mardi Gras.
But the fallacy is that Carnival's finances cannot be judged by gate receipts. If we depend on the gate receipts alone, then every year...
But I used to get subvention from the government. The argument to get subvention, to increase the subvention to Carnival.
Yeah, because Carnival brings in whatever, 20 million, 30 million, whatever.
Right.
The economy. Now you have, for example, we are not saying it, the Grenada Hotel and Tourism Association is saying that they were completely booked out. That is happening because of Carnival. Now, where does that money go?
Correct.
And that some of that money has to go back into making Carnival happen.
Hence the reason government must increase the subvention. I was told that, Cecil came on our program, and he said that there was moves to increase the subvention this year for them to operate a little more efficient. And I remember we had a lot of years when we weren't paying the prize monies and paying it timely.
On time, exactly.
And we had a lot of backlog. That we seem to have gone past that. And now that is happening.
With the advent of the Spice Mass Corporation, I think the subvention has increased. In fact, they get a monthly subvention to keep the office open and so on, so there's more money is available. But we cannot, I think we should make it more affordable to Grenadians to attend and not depend on the gate receipts to say that has to be for Carnival, because it never will.
It never will.
It never will.
I always wondered what percentage of the income comes from the electronic sales, that is the virtual viewing.
That is still, well, go ahead, X.
Not a
And do you
Not a
make
huge
it, I
amount.
mean, national events are aired for the public to see, but in this case, there's no viewing, you have to pay per view.
Pay-per-view, yeah.
But next though, we run out of time.
Speaking
Sorry,
of pay-per-view,
yeah.
and I disagree with the pay-per-view. I think, again, a national cultural event should be free to the public,
That's
but
what
you
I
can
say.
get advertisers
To support.
To support. So
I think that's a big recommendation. I think that is something that I see is
That
lacking.
need people to work on it, eh?
Yeah.
yeah,
absolutely.
again, it takes
But
personal
exactly.
to go out and
I know from a
But-
private sector point of view, when
Yeah.
you come to me for monies for Carnival, I need to understand, first of all, administratively, how am I getting value from it?
Money. Yeah.
And then when I get that, I need to understand accountability.
Yes.
And these are things that we must be able to deal with and deal with above board.
But additionally,
So you could get the confidence of the private
we
sector.
also need to know when your financial year starts and ends, because if we come to you in June and you
Yes,
just
yeah.
close the financial year, then we're not getting
Yeah, the
anything.
accountability.
Colleagues, we run out of time. Dexter, what's your final comments and your recommendations, your general view going forward? What's the future?
I want to say, oftentimes we harp on the winners of Carnival. So the winners, congratulations to them, but to the participants of Carnival, because they are the ones who sustained whatever benefits we are enjoying now with the visitors coming into Grenada and participating because of the participants. Even when we had the difficult times during COVID and so on, during Hurricane Ivan,
Yeah.
our people persisted. They made the sacrifices to get us to this point. So to the participants, congratulations. To the Ministry of Culture, to the Grenada Cultural Foundation, please pay attention to what is happening outside of St. George's. We are losing some of the tenets of traditional mass. Like I said, the Waterloo Shotney is now extinct. A couple of
The Shakespeare Mass
Shakespeare
from,
Mass
from Carriacou
from Carriacou
and
should
coming
be
to here.
included.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes. That's
Because
a
what-
beautiful thing.
Yeah.
What makes us different, what makes us stand out from anything else is our traditional mass art forms. The fancy mass that the people play on the streets Monday and Tuesday, they go to St. Vincent and experience that. They go to St. Lucia and experience
It's the
that.
same. Nothing unique about that.
Exactly, it's the same group of promoters promoting the same fêtes and so on. What will keep us different and attractive will be our traditional forms and our music. So please continue.
The music. I think it was awesome this year, Chris.
You
I
didn't get a
think it
chance to
was-
touch that.
I mean,
You
like,
didn't get a chance
wow,
to touch
you know, it's like,
nudity as well, because
know,
I know that was our
But
thing
those-
that
but as the foreigners,
came.
As a
Yeah,
foreign,
yeah.
as a foreign.
You know, so I mean, there's a lot of areas. I agree that there is a lot of areas for us to work on to bring this cultural event to its maximum.
Yeah.
But you know, I keep going back, and I hear Dexter talk about we need the resources to do it. Why it is year after year we do a postmortem, have all these lovely recommendations, and we can't get them executed, not even 50%.
Personnel, we need people who are willing to work hard. We know that nothing in life is gained by not working hard. And if you're part of the corporation, you're on the board, you're part of the staff, you must have some level of expertise. Okay, let me give you an example very quickly. I'm not going out of time. So I came into Carnival when there was a Grenada Carnival committee. So I worked with the likes of Mrs. Jennifer Woodruff, Mr. Hugh Dollar, Ponty Archibald. Those were people who loved Carnival and were dedicated to Carnival. They were volunteers. Mrs. Elizabeth Henry Greenidge, who was the PS at the time. In any given season, Mrs. Woodruff would chair and she would say to Mr. Archibald, hey, you'll take part this year. And he will go out and he will do Panorama. And Mr. Dolan will do Calypso. Because they loved and they cared about Grenada and Grenada's culture. Now, you don't have that level of commitment and expertise where you have that respectability. So when Mr. Archibald calls you into a meeting, you'll want to listen. Now, everything is a negotiation and is a tug of war and is a battle. And we see, like I said, the product in terms of the execution of the events are dropping and dropping. People are just kind of going through the motions. So you need the personnel who will, first of all, committed to getting the work done and then command the respect of the stakeholders so you can sit down and actually have conversations with them and say, yeah, a lot of the times it's not necessarily about money, you know.
Yeah.
It's just a conversation. They just need a conversation and you can point them in the right direction to get the resources that they need. Because all the money does not have to come from St. George's.
What's the future look like?
I'm worried about St. Vincent, and I noted that in my SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
St. Vincent is doing a lot of work to become the premier carnival in the Eastern Caribbean. They now have the
Serious?
international airport, they are building the hotels, they have the room stock right now, and they are investing heavily in the products. So I'm worried about all this euphoria
And what's
right
the
now.
timing? 10 business is the same period?
No, St. Vincent is in July.
July.
Just before.
Yeah.
In July.
Thank you. That's all the time we have. Appreciate you coming here, viewers. That's all the time we have.
Thanks.
We want to thank our MTV technical staff and others. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.